My name's Amelia Leavesley. I'm a researcher at the Faculty of Architecture, Building and Planning at the University of Melbourne. I didn't start out in design and architecture. I actually started my academic career as an engineer. I then worked for a while in the water sector as a water engineer and sort of found a real interest in urban systems. And that's sort of how I fell into the Faculty of Architecture, Building and Planning, where I study multilevel waste governance in Australia. What that involves is multi-level policy analysis and interviews with actors at the federal and state and local levels of government, different private sector representatives and networks operating locally, regionally, nationally and also internationally. And I'm sort of looking for the ways in which decision-making around waste and the way waste is framed in policy and conversations impacts what happens on the ground. And waste is a persistent contributor to climate change emissions, so there's a lot of concern that we improve how we manage waste in order to reduce emissions and environmental impact. Waste and I go back a long way. As I got older and studied a bit more, I did start discovering that waste was everywhere. Everyone had an experience with waste. Everyone has been a producer or a consumer of, recyclables and recycled product. When you look at waste from a governance point of view, particularly like climate change governance, which is the framework that I'm using, which looks at decision making around climate change, I found that no one was really studying waste in the same way. And so I sort of found that this historic relationship between me and waste came back together in my PhD. I would say the greatest value I get out of MCFA is the sort of collegial environment. There's a fortnightly meeting where everyone comes and checks in, and the first thing we do is tour de table, where everyone sort of says, this is how I'm feeling this week, this is something good, this is something bad, and you sort of really get an opportunity to connect with other PhD students, which is not often the case. The PhD journey can be quite a lonely one. And the other thing I really find valuable is the training that's offered by MCFA through, I know that Beth, for example, ran some marketing training, and that was grueling but so useful to look at, examples like this. How do you talk in an interview? How do you frame your answers? We also had, publishing training and all sort of different facets of the PhD journey. MCFA takes a more holistic approach and looks at the whole experience of the candidate and sort of does candidate-centred training. And so you're looking at, how do you leverage yourself, your research, your career in a really supportive environment. And I think that's really the biggest value for MCFA for me.